BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Hello, I'm Binnie and this is the Scottish Football Podcast. All the news, views and analysis you need on Friday the 5th of September. And it's a big one for Scotland.
Adams might get onto this. He's in behind the defender. Adams can seal it and does! See Adams scores! Bends it past Kasper Schmeichel!
What will be Danish delight as the national side gets the World Cup qualifiers underway. Danish manager Brian Reimer says to watch out for Scotland.
It's a team we have great respect for. I mean, Mr. Clarke has done a great job with Scotland over the last years. And obviously we played Spain ourselves. We know how difficult it is to beat Spain. Just to see those two results for me is a great example of why we need to be very respectful.
Who do we have to watch out for in his side? And how do we find a way to win in Copenhagen?
Hopefully you get enough points to qualify. There's no secret. There's no way you can take away the fact that there is a pressure to get there. You have to embrace that pressure. You have to look forward to it. And like I said, the pressure brings the excitement.
We've got all your preview bases covered.
The Scottish Football Podcast from BBC Sport Scotland.
Joining me this morning is former Hibernian midfielder and man of many clubs, Scott Allan, as well as coach and analyst John Walker. A very good morning to you both. Before we get into all the chat about Scotland, we've got two of Scotland's top young coaches with us on the call this morning, so I thought we'd check in with that. John, head coach role at Petershill, 20s. Scott, I believe you're taking on a first team coach role at East Kilbride. How do you think the season starts? I'll start with yourself, Scott. How do you think the season started for you?
Yeah, I think it's been really well. Obviously been a good run. I think obviously losing to Spartans in the opening day at home was maybe a blessing in disguise. Gave the boys a realisation that every single game in this league that we're going to win is going to be difficult. You're going to have to really work for it, battle at some point. But if you want to gain control in the game, which we obviously try and do in most games, then how important the individual battles are all over the pitch are really important to us from minute one. So, but up to obviously with a good result of the weekend, big Cam Elliott scored 4 goals. I think kind of doing the rounds on social media. So delighted for him, but I think there's still more to come from us.
And John, back as a number one, I guess, for the first time since I had the pleasure of coaching myself. How does this feel?
Very good, mate. We judge just as good as you, mate. A very, very talented bunch.
Superb. The reason I've asked you both for that is because we're going to get right into the chat about Scotland. So now that you've told everyone how brilliant you are as coaches, we can really get your real opinions on everything. So only one place to start, that's with Scotland head coach Steve Clarke. I think he hasn't really confirmed whether or not this is going to be his last campaign as Scotland head coach. Scott, do you think this will be, or do you think Steve will continue beyond?
No, I think this will be. I think that will be the aim. Obviously try and get us to the World Cup. If we're successful or not, I think it would be World Cup, and then he would obviously call it a day. If not, then I think someone new will come in. I think that's quite evident now for me that this will be his last tournament that he wants to get to with Scotland.
It's quite a tough group, isn't it? What did you make of the draw?
Yeah, it's difficult. You obviously look at that. You look at going to obviously Copenhagen tonight. Denmark with a really good home form. But I think for us over the next 2 games, if we can take 4 points, it gives us a good start. We've obviously seen what Greece are like. Greece, for me, individually have some top talent. But listen, if you want to get to these sort of tournaments, you're going to have to dig out some results. Whether tonight you go there and maybe a point's a good result, you go to Belarus and get a win, it gives you a good solid base. But that will be a difficult task.
John, if you look over Clarke's tenure, Scotland have been able to get results against top nations, Denmark included in the past. Of course, do you think it's games like tonight that maybe suits the Steve Clarke Scotland side a bit more?
I don't know to be honest, because these games are always the ones that have kind of signalled me out as being the reason that I've always wanted somebody a bit more front-footed and a bit more aggressive with the players that we do have, because it was, although the Norway result is always heralded as this massive result away from home, 86 minutes we were absolutely battered in that game until they took Haaland and Odegaard off, and then we got a bit of control and then just a wild 90 seconds. Denmark away was probably the worst performance of the Steve Clarke era. I couldn't believe. I know we played Andy Robertson and Kieran Tierney right and left back in that game, but I think this game will be a big signifier as to where we are under Steve Clarke if we've got any improvement, because that 2-0 game in Denmark was absolutely horrendous. It was 2-0 going on 5. And if tonight's anything similar, it's you're almost like looking at damage limitation for the group, because those Greece results are leaving a sour taste now that you see the group that we're in.
What a positive way to start the morning. God, John, come on. Just to play devil's advocate there have been big results away from home against the big nations. I think like Portugal was a great performance as well. And I know it's not pretty. I know that's maybe not the way that yourself or many other Scotland fans would like to see. But is that where we're at with Scotland, or do you think we should go and attack Denmark away from home? Do you think we've got the players and the capability to do that?
It's a transitional Denmark side tonight. They're missing some of the more experienced players. I think the average age of their squad's like 24. So they have given a lot of new call-ups to people under the new manager, and they're trying to change a little bit from a lot of Danish fans, despite getting to a semi-final in the Euros, hated the way the manager was playing. So I can empathise with that as a national side. They were playing a back three a lot of the time, and that's just not the Danish way. Denmark are 4-3-3. They like their wingers. They like their big centre forwards. And that's never really changed. So they've been kind of longing for this return back to the way they used to play that we probably remember in the 90s and early 2000s with Laudrup, Skronkia, Rommedahl, Ebbesand, John Dahl Thomason. And when I look at their side compared to ours, I mean, as good as they are, I don't think they had anyone that really had the season Scott McTominay had at the level McTominay was at. And I think that's the battle that Steve Clarke's been able to sit between fans like myself and fans that will back him to the hilt. Is I probably look at Scotland more positively as the squad that we now have, going, yeah, we're probably missing a number 9 and we're probably missing a star centre half, but all around the pitch we've got top 5 league class players everywhere. So I think this is a game that we should be going and looking and going with Denmark with the players they're missing. Despite all the talent, I would be going and saying, let's just go toe to toe. And because if you can start this with a win, you're already flying, and that's the hardest game. I know Greece done us in, but that's the hardest game out of the way.
Yeah. Scotty, back 4 tonight, do you reckon? There's no Tierney. Ralston's dropped out as well. If we are to go and attack Denmark, you think that would be the most sensible approach?
Listen, as John says, it's purely how you look at it. For me, I would much prefer to be in the front foot, get after them. I think obviously we'll have Andy Robertson. It'll be 4-2-3-1 most likely. I think obviously Ben Doak, with that pace, he's a ball carrier. I think that's definitely something that we do miss when we don't have him in the team. He's probably the only player I can think of in the squad with that real sort of top level speed. And yes, he's not the finished article, but just in terms of getting us up the pitch, buying fouls as well at some points. I think Hickey coming back into the squad as well for me is a massive positive. But ultimately, it's going to fall down to that number 9 position again. I think Kieran Bowie's done more than enough to merit a start tonight, looking at how well he's done in the European campaign for Hibs at the start of this season. I think the importance of being able to hold the ball up, especially in venues where you maybe don't expect to have the ball as much as them. And I watched it first hand, the amount of times they brought guys into play. So if you have him up front, you get McTominay playing off him, looking to hit the box, and I think he'll probably go with Christie. And that's what John's talking about. You've got guys who can actually get after teams, and if you get the press right, you can steal the ball high up the pitch, and then you've got a chance. So, and I would expect Gilmore McGinn is the 2 in the middle. So you look at the team, like player for player. The football these guys are playing at the clubs is nothing different to what myself and John are probably expecting here. That is trying to marry that up with the national team, and that's I think a frustration of many people who watch Scotland, because it would be no different from what most of these players are doing at their respective clubs. So the number 9 position has been the biggest thing for the last obviously few campaigns. There's no question about that, but there's no point going with, for me, if you go by Lyndon Dykes over a Kieran Bowie tonight, we're just going back to the same old route. Lyndon Dykes can come on after Kieran Bowie's maybe his time's up in the game later on, but you've got to play Kieran Bowie. You've got to look to the future. You've got to be young, athletic legs in the team. He's got that. Ben Doak's certainly got that in terms of pace. Hickey coming back in terms of quality in that right back position, for me, is already an upgrade But let's go and get after him, why not?
John, would you agree? Kieran Bowie at number 9. Do you think that could be the missing piece that we've not really had the last few campaigns?
The number 9 is the missing piece. I agree with everything Scott said. I really like Kieran Bowie. I feel he was somebody that when we kind of seen a lot of the Fulham stuff coming out, that he was probably the one that was going to go through the 21s and be able to be an international striker. But it's finding your club, and I think with the way David Gray and Hibs have kind of just carried on their form from last season, I think he's maybe their missing piece as well to take them into a real challenging position. And I think it's not just the performances of your usual Scottish teams in Europe where they're kind of hanging on and they're just trying to get a 1-0. Hibs were actually going after teams and attacking teams, and Kieran Bowie was bringing people into play. So he's kind of able to do both things. And I just hope that somebody that's then surrounded by John McGinn, Ryan Christie, Scott McTominay, Ben Doak just gets better and better and better. And that's why I would be same as Scott. I would throw him straight in. I don't think there's anything to learn from a 27-year-old Hurst or a 30-year-old approaching London Dykes. I think it's now we need somebody new. And this is the gamble time. If it's going to be this World Cup squad, he needs to go for it. Because if Steve Clarke does end without getting Scotland to World Cup, there's always going to be that bit of sour taste.
Yeah, and Scott, you also mentioned the pace and directness of Ben Gannon Doak. He hasn't really played a lot of football, nor has Aaron Hickey, another player that you name checked a couple of minutes ago. Would you be inclined to start both of those guys tonight? They've been so good for Scotland over the years, but they just haven't played much football. Yeah, well,
let's get them playing tonight. I just think profile wise, in terms of how you want to play against a team like Denmark away from home, you need the attributes in your squad. I think it's genuinely as simple as that. We're not blessed in terms of. I don't mean not blessed, but in terms of what they bring, we don't really have that in terms of the depth of the squad. So you have to get them in. What happens now is setting you up for what's going to happen down the line. You have to integrate them with the squad now. For me, it's as simple as that.
John, would you agree?
Yeah, it's now because that's, I mean, just to kind of touch on that again, when you're talking about the depth in squad, like Denmark have got a £60 million centre forward to choose from. Mika Bierif, who's just a meteoric rise since he left Motherwell, basically through into League One with Monaco, and then Kasper Dolberg, who Celtic were trying to choose between. Like they can choose any one of those three. We would kill for one of those. So you do need to just chuck players like Ben Doak, Aaron Hickey in, because we don't have the depth to not do that now.
Let's tidy up the rest of the team then. Goalkeeper, who do you think gets the nod, John?
I don't know. Honestly, I'm stuck on the goalie. I'm going to be stuck on the goalie.
Who would you go for, John?
I actually am stuck. The goalie's the one position I'm stuck on, and I don't. The goalie's the one I'm stuck on. I don't have I can't make a choice. I'm stuck. I keep going over it. I just think that's one that is a problem for me. What about yourself? Who would you go for, Scott? If you want to play the way we want to play,
I would go for Liam Kelly tonight for that. But I think he goes Angus Gunn.
Yeah. It's not great, is it? That's a shame. But yeah, goalkeeper situation is certainly in a better position than it was at the last camp. That's for sure. But I think we had about our first 7 choice goalkeepers all injured. So Craig Gordon, please hurry back soon. Centre half pairing, if we are going with a back 4, Scott?
Suter
McKenna, John?
I don't think there's anyone else to choose between those. I think, I think John Suter. I think people that watch Rangers are probably scarred by some of the John Suter errors, but John Suter for Scotland in the way that Scotland will play, John Suter's
he's better off
best.
The right as well, isn't he?
Yeah.
When he plays right of a bit.
And John Suter's a phenomenal centre half. If you need John Suter to do what John Suter does well, it's just those extra little bits. He won't be playing 10 years inside the opposition's half. John Suter, everything in his own half. John Suter's 99% the complete defender that Scotland need. Scott McKenna, I've always liked Scott McKenna. I've never really understood the grief that Scott McKenna gets from Scotland fans. I think he's brilliant in loads of bits of the game. That's the 2 for me.
Just finally, midfield then. It is to be a 4-2-3-1 as we expect. What's the sitting 2? Do you go Gilmore and Christie, Gilmore McGinn, Gilmore Ferguson? How do you line up, do you reckon?
I think it'll be Gilmore McGinn, obviously McTominay just behind the striker, just looking at the kind of the goals that he scored, and obviously got off to getting back on the score sheet already for Napoli, but I think it'll be McGinn and Gilmore. I do like Christie in that position for Bournemouth, but Steve Clarke, I just can't see him. I just can't see him doing that. He won't come away from your kind of Gilmore McGinn.
And you'd put Christie and Gannon Doak either side of McTominay in the three?
Yeah, that would be my thinking.
John?
I think that's the exact same. I think I would prefer Christie as a six because I've seen what he does with Bournemouth, and I think he's probably one of the best sixes in the English Premier League, the way they play. But he likes Ryan Christie's energy down the side, and we don't. And to be fair, in defence of Steve Clarke, we don't really have anyone anywhere near Ben Doak's ilk that can play on the outside. So you are kind of going Ryan Christie as the best fit outside of that to go and do a wide job, even if it's inside. So I think it has to be that.
Nice. Final question on Scotland before we talk about the opposition then. John, how confident are you that Scotland can win the game tonight?
Win 10%, 15%. Win's very low, mate. I think this...
Come on, right. We need you more positive this morning, John. What's happened?
If we were playing the Danish side under the Danish manager a year ago, I would have been more confident we could have got a result. I think this manager's kind of got the philosophy that I like. He'll go after teams. I think Spain are the only team that have won in Parkin in the last 2.5, 3 years, mate. So if you're taking the European champions as the only people that beat you at home, it's going to be a tough ask. So win, not so much, but scrape a draw, I could see that.
Right, Scotty, help us out here. Surely you're more confident than that.
No, listen, I think it's a big ask. I think John makes good points here. For me, listen, in isolation, you can go places and pick up results, but I think ultimately you need that control to really give yourself the chance to progress that over the length of a campaign. But so for me, I think a point's a decent result tonight, as long as you beat Belarus.
Okay, let's move on to Denmark. Let's talk about tonight's opposition. Always a tough task, been a great national side over the last few years. But John, as you've pointed out, you quite like the look of new manager Brian Reimer. What is it about him, about his style, about his even squad selection that you like so much in this Denmark side? What should we really be expecting?
I think you'll see loads of quick switches of play, loads of 1v1s for the wingers, and loads of crosses into the box for the big centre forwards, whichever the three they play, whether it's Mika Bierif, Højlund, or Kasper Dolberg. I think they've got a really good midfield. Like, if you're trying to tell people about Victor Freulet, who's went to Porto this summer for 25 million, Porto were looking at Nico Raskin as their replacement for the number 6, and went and spent 25 million on somebody that was in a breakthrough season in Denmark, and he's just came on leaps and bounds since moving. So he's the 6. You then get Højlund, who's been at Sporting Lisbon for a few years now, who I think they spent 27 million on, who's been touted at English Premier League moves for 60, 70 million pound midfield moves. So they've got him, and then Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, who's at Marseille and was at Spurs. That'll be the midfield three. They're very, very good in the ball. So technically we'll struggle to get the ball off of them in the middle areas. They've then got Dorgu at left back, Man United, who's really quick. So that left side will be really good for them. But they do switch the play very quickly. So there'll be a lot of diags in behind our fullbacks. I know we like to play really narrow, even when it's been a 5. I think it'll be how Andy Robertson and Hickey stand up against their 2 wide men, because if they do get chances to cross into the box, doesn't matter how good a game John Stewart and Scott McKenna are having, you've got £130 million worth of centre forwards to choose from. Give them a chance, they're going to score. The only saving grace for us is that Christian Eriksen doesn't have a club, and that's meant Christian Eriksen's not been called up. They've got Matt O'Reilly sitting on a bench for that midfield as well. So again, depth in that squad is unbelievable. It's just more the style of play. I really like that they'll be in our half most of the game if we let them. If we let them in our half, we will struggle to get out our half, because they've got good centre halves, they've got good pace in the full back areas to get back. I think Ben Doak against Dorgu will be a really good battle for us. If we can do anything against him, that'll be where we get our success.
Is this a stronger or weaker Denmark side than the one that we beat at Hampden a few years ago?
It's a weaker squad for squad side and experience, because I think they've only got like 10 players in the squad that have over 10 caps.
Right.
Talent-wise, the way football's going, I think they'll be a better team, and they'll get to another Euros semi-final in the next 10 years with this squad they've got.
Big call. Could be a tough evening in store if all of that is to be correct. Scott, where do you believe the kind of main threats are in this Denmark side? I know John's pointed out how strong they can be in midfield, their options up front, but where really should Scotland be looking out for?
I just think in terms of that midfield and style of play, that trying to suck you into tight areas and switching out for the 1v1s, that's what me and John are talking about. Scotland being the front foot, it kind of alters that a little bit in terms of how they're playing. It maybe forces them into mistakes, but if we drop off the game at times, and sometimes team systems naturally force you into that, and they're looking to camp you in your own half, then you don't get the out ball. Hence why I want Kieran Bowie in the team. Then it's just coming back at you. That's where, so the system with the kind of talent in midfield, that will hurt us if we don't have, like me and John says, on the front foot, and we have to look after the ball at times. It's so important, especially at that level of football. And that they're the type of games that are the ones that really frustrate this, like Scotland fans. For me, that this is the exact type of games where everybody's thinking could go and win, and then you'll see them, and then we'll turn around and say, how can we not keep the ball when we can? But we're just not designed to kind of set up away from home like that. So it'll be interesting tactically what Steve Clarke does, but I just think we've got to be brave.
Do you think he'll have a go? Do you think he'll be brave?
I know that.
Honestly,
I'm trying to wish it into happening tonight. I really don't know. He actually could. That's the thing. But from what we have to go on, you probably think not. You probably look to soak up and maybe use Ben Doak. But I think we've got to be brave. If you don't play against systems like that when they have control, ultimately you're on the ropes for most of the game. You're defending the volume of crosses, which you would expect, and it just takes one of them to go in. Then all that kind of plan's gone, and then you go and, instead of being active in terms of what kind of substitutions make, he'll just be reactive again. That's the one thing I'll say. As a nation, we're not proactive in terms of trying to swing the game in our favour. We're always reactive. And that, say 70 minutes you defend well, we'll go down, now we'll go and play that. We've got to think better. I think we've got to be better than that.
John, Kasper Schmeichel still the Denmark goalkeeper?
Yeah, he'll still be the number one. That won't change just now. That's one of the positions they've probably got a problem with going forward. The other goalie's Man United's number, Chelsea's number 2 or 3 now, the way they're playing. So it'll be how they get him into playing club football regularly to then become their number one. But there's no standout. Kasper Schmeichel's still the standout. Right,
after tonight's big game, move on to Belarus on Monday. John, that should be a little bit easier, would you suspect?
Yes, and that's where the frustration will come, because I suspect we will be in the front foot and we will try and dominate football, and we will take care of the ball. And it's a must win, like, irrespective, because if we fought, no matter what the result is tonight, if we don't follow up with a Belarus win, then because the group's so small, you don't want to be so like it's done. But if we don't win both of these games, if we don't win either of these games, especially the Belarus one, you are already kind of chasing your tail and hoping that Greece. I mean, I know Greece have been very vocal about how much they don't consider Scotland as the second team in this group. They consider Denmark to be the second team in the group. So they're confident off of what they did to us. So yeah, the Belarus need to be the gimme, unfortunately.
Scott, it's behind closed doors. Like, is that a bit of a hindrance? I know it is away from home, but I'm sure you'll have played in closed door games before, if you remember back to COVID times and all the rest of it. It's quite weird. Like, how different does it make the game?
Yeah, Alison, I think obviously it being away from home, I think if it was a Hampden behind closed doors game, it'd maybe be different. But ultimately, you have to go away. Belarus, a place where it could be a bit sticky, but I think we've got enough players in the team now who've been through that experience of the COVID season and all that to come through it. It's a must-win game. It's as simple as that. We can't go there and pick up a result, then you ain't getting to World Cups. It's as simple as that. We have to win.
Right, just finally, 2 games. We've got Denmark tonight, Belarus on Monday. How many points are you hoping for, and how many points do you think we'll get across the 2 games? Start with John. You can't say 0, John. Negative all morning.
Hope for 4. I think we'll get 3.
Scott?
Hope for 4. I think we'll get 4. There you go.
Go on. I'll say 6 then. We'll get 6. Easy peasy. Predictions for tonight?
2-1 Scotland.
Scorers?
Kieran Bowie double.
Love it. Great answer. John?
I'll go because I want it to be. I'll go 1-1. I'll go 1-1. I think Ben Doak can do something, but I think if I'm going to be a scorer, it's going to be Scott McTominay.
Nice. Of course, the main man. Well, let's hope we get some positive results over the next few days and we can all have a chat again after the international break. But I'm afraid, lads, that's all we've got time for this morning. Many thanks to John Walker and to Scott Allan, and thank you very much for listening to us. Remember, you can watch every minute of tonight's match on the BBC Scotland channel or on BBC Two Scotland. You can also listen to radio commentary on BBC Radio Scotland Extra. And remember, of course, we're here with new episodes of the Scottish Football Podcast bright and early every single day. So to make sure you don't miss out, you've got to subscribe on BBC Sounds and have push notifications turned on your phone. Once again, thank you to John, thank you to Scott, thank you from me. Let's all hope for a good result tonight. Goodbye.
For everything you need to know about your team this season, download the BBC Sport app. All the latest news, goal updates, stats and scores, and insight and analysis. Just select your club to get the biggest stories and best content at your fingertips. What a result. Download the BBC Sport app for everything you need to know about your team this season.
BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Hello, I'm Martin Dowden, and this is a bonus episode of the Scottish Football Podcast, where I sat down for an exclusive interview with Scotland captain Andy Robertson and head coach Steve Clarke ahead of the opening World Cup qualifier against Denmark.
The Scottish Football Podcast from BBC Sport Scotland.
Andy, obviously, start of a World Cup qualifying campaign. Can you give us a sense of what the mood in the camp is? Is it excitement? Slight trepidation? How are you all feeling about it?
Yeah, I think it's always excitement. I think when you go into a new qualifying campaign, it's exciting as to potentially what we can achieve and what's at stake. Obviously we've had a taste of qualifying for the Euros, through the back door of playoffs and also automatically through qualification. And I thought the last World Cup campaign we were excellent, and obviously just fell short of the playoffs, which was disappointing. But as the campaign as a whole, we done really well, and over the last 6-8 years we've done pretty well in qualification, and we need to try and keep that going. We know how long it's been since Scotland have got to a World Cup, and we want to try and put that right.
I was going to say, do you try and almost park that idea that it has been a long time, just so that pressure doesn't come even more than it already is there? Yeah,
I think you have to. You can't focus on other people's history as such. I think obviously as a nation we've not been there, but this squad is, if we look at it, the last campaign that we tried to qualify for, we qualified, and that was for the Euros, and I think we have to take confidence from that. But if we do want extra motivation or whatever it is, then obviously being the first team since 1998 to be at a World Cup is obviously that. So we want to be there, of course we do. We want to be a part of it, and but we know how difficult our group is. We know how difficult it's going to be, and we need to be at our best to try and put ourselves in a position to be able to do that.
Since the manager came in, it's been quite a journey. There's been some absolutely tremendous highs. There's been some lows along the way. The group have been largely together through a lot of that. And how does all those experiences cumulatively maybe add to your ability to get through a campaign like this?
Yeah, the manager's obviously been quite consistent in who he's picked since he's kind of come in. I think his first year it was a lot of chopping and changing. There was people retiring, there was people not wanting to be selected, then there was new lads coming in and things like that. But after that, then we got a kind of settled squad, and there's quite a lot of us that have been here a long time now, and then obviously you just try and add new players, young players to add to to already a good squad. So I think in terms of that, we've been through a lot together, like you've said, and we can look back on past experiences, past highs, past lows as well to try and drive us forward. And I think we can use that. We can use that as motivation, but we also have to, every campaign's a kind of clean slate as well, and we have to go in with full of confidence, full of optimism, and if we do that, then we know on our day that we can cause anyone problems. But we need to probably up our levels from what we have been doing, and if we do that, then we believe we can make it difficult for these teams in this group.
I think people recognise there's a real togetherness in the group. I think they recognise that people know their roles and what the manager is expecting of you. In terms of the ability within the squad, how would you describe that, and how does it maybe rate to when this all started 6 years ago?
Yeah, look, I think the quality in the squad's there to be seen. For just now, the level that the lads are playing at, the young lads in terms of who's coming in, how exciting they are, and how capable they are on the, how capable they are on the ball, and how, I suppose, kind of mature they are as well off the ball. And I think that's crucial. But I think we've got new players coming in and young players that are exciting, but we also have kind of the older heads that are still playing at a really high level, and we can, use our experience and use the quality that we've got as well. And when you look at the squad on paper, the teams that everyone's playing for, it's probably of the highest level that we maybe potentially have ever had for Scotland. But it's up to us to show. That means nothing when you go to a pitch. You need to show that quality, you need to show that togetherness, and at times we've done that, and at times we've not done that. And I think when we do it, then we're a right good team, and we've proven against top nations as well that we're really difficult to beat. But we all need to work hard, and we all need to be 100% focused on what our task is, and when we do that, we're a really good team.
People are looking at this group and I think roundly suggesting it's a tough one. Do you see it as a tough one, but also see this team and this squad as being more than equal to the other teams? Yeah,
I think every team in it, in terms of what pot they were in, is probably, very difficult to play against in each pot. So it's quite an even group. But it's going to be, I think games will be incredibly tight in this group. I think, obviously we know what Greece are like over two legs. The first game was tight, and obviously we came out on top, and the second game was hugely disappointing from our point of view, but they would have took confidence from that. And then, we've played Denmark before, and we know how difficult it is to go away there, and we obviously beat them at home the last time, but a really good team, a team that's now used to qualifying, for pretty much every tournament and things like that, with a real quality squad. So, and Belarus are a difficult pot 4 team, and it's never going to be an easy game. So I think all the games are not going to be easy, but I think also we believe we've got a chance in all of them, and we need to try and show that, we need to try and prove that, and if we do that, then look, let's see where we are after the 6 games.
Specifically on Denmark tomorrow night, what's the biggest sort of challenge that you think you're going to face out there?
I think it's a really difficult game. I remember last time we were out there, they like to start fast. The fans are, create a credible atmosphere in that stadium. Always right behind their team, and try and drive them forward from whistle one. So we know that's what they'll try, and we know the team kind of react off that and try and always start well for the first 15-20 minutes, and they've got quality all up and down the pitch. They've got players that are playing at the highest level, and they've got, like I said, a team that's now consistently qualifying for tournaments, consistently being a pot 1 team and things like that, which is obviously amazing for them. But we need to try and make it difficult for them. We'll have a game plan to try and do that, and try and cause them problems where we believe that we can, and if we do that and we're compact as a team and we defend well, then we believe we can get a result. But we have to go show that, and if we do that, then it will get us on our way, because this campaign isn't the longest. It's only 6 games. It'll be over in November, which is mad to think about, and obviously getting off to a good start will be crucial.
In terms of your own club situation, how are you feeling about that? People are looking at it right now and thinking you might not get as much game time. That may change in the coming weeks. How are you sort of approaching that just now? Yeah, look, I think when you're at a top club, I think the season's long. There's plenty of games, and I believe I'll play plenty of games. Now, whether that is the case or not, then nobody can look into the future, unfortunately, and nobody can see that. Obviously, in the summer, I had to think about what I wanted and what I wanted to do, and I came to the decision and committed to the decision, and I'm happy to be there. And pre-season, I've came back in really good shape, training really well, and obviously maybe not got the game time that I would have liked in the first part of the season, but that's part and parcel of it. And
I believe when we come back and we've got lots of games, then hopefully that I can play more games. So I've missed the feeling of playing games. Obviously, I'm used to being a kind of regular starter for so many years, and it's been a bit difficult with the transition. But I think I've dealt with it fairly well, and it's just about trying to look after yourself, keeping yourself as fit as possible, mentally staying as sharp as possible, and I've done that in training. And then obviously coming away here, I'm just excited to be away with Scotland now, and get games under my belt, and also no bigger games than World Cup qualifiers. So excited to be a part of that, and then let's see what happens when we go back to Liverpool.
Were you close to leaving or thinking about it, given what you just said about you're used to starting?
It was a difficult summer, I would say. We obviously I had options, and we just worked through it. I think I worked through it as a family to see what we wanted and what we wanted to do, and I think the consensus and everything boiled down to that my heart was still in Liverpool, and we wanted to stay. We're very settled there, and we're at one of the biggest clubs in the world, and like I says, I still backed myself, and like I says, I believe I'll play games there this season, and I'll play games for club and country, and hopefully it can be another successful season on both fronts, and hopefully come the summer we're looking at that we're heading to World Cup, and hopefully we've got maybe a couple more trophies in our hands as well from a club perspective.
Just finally, as Scotland captain, what would it mean to you to be able to deliver a World Cup for the Tartan Army?
Yeah, it'd mean everything. We know how happy people were when we got to the Euros and things like that, but the World Cup is the Euros is unbelievable, but I think the World Cup is the pinnacle, and I think everyone dreams of playing in a World Cup, and we've not managed it, and I'm not getting any younger either, so for some of us it might be our last chance to try and get there. You don't know what's coming, and I think we've got that burning desire to be there, and of course we want to make the Tartan Army happy, and we want to see them over in America or Mexico or wherever we get landed, but we have to focus on the job in hand. We all have to be in it together. The Tartan Army can help us massively, especially in the home games, and try and help us over the line, but we know it's a difficult task. We know we've got to be better than what we have been in previously, and if we do that, then hopefully we can all be smiling come November, or if we need March, then hopefully March.
Steve, obviously we're about to embark on a World Cup campaign, and all that brings. How are you feeling and the group feeling about the prospect of delivering a World Cup to the Tartan Army?
Yeah, I think everybody's excited. It's another opportunity. It's a tournament we haven't been at for a long time, and we believe that this group of players and this group of coaches can deliver. So that's what we have to try and do.
What would it mean to you personally? Obviously you've got the back-to-back Euros behind you, being in the top groups at the Nations League. You've achieved a lot with Scotland, but this is surely the crowning glory.
Yeah, I think when you go through your career, you always have little targets, you always have things that you want to do. I'm probably approaching the end of my career, the wrong side of 60, but there's still a chance to go to a World Cup, so what better place to do it than for your own country? And if we could do it, yeah, for me personally it would be good, but as I keep telling people, it's not really about me, it's about the country, and it's about this group of players who've been fantastic over the last six and a bit years that I've been in charge. They've been great for the country, and they deserve to go to a World Cup, but deserving to go and going is two different things, because you have to work very, very hard to get there.
I heard you talking recently about the balance of excitement about this and the pressure that comes as well. If you think about the group of players, how do you try and manage that so that they're focused more on the positives than the pressure side of it?
You just go with the old coach's mantra, game by game. We have to go, obviously a tough start away to the top seeds in the group, Denmark. We go there, we look to get points there, and then from there you just go game to game, and hopefully you get enough points to qualify. There's no secret. There's no way you can take away the fact that there is a pressure to get there. You have to embrace that pressure. You have to look forward to it, and like I said, the pressure brings the excitement. So if you're excited and you do well, then hopefully we get the right points tally.
How driven are the players, and how much does it help to have been to major tournaments, that when you come to the start of a cycle like this, it must give them added confidence and belief that they can go and do this?
Yeah, I think so. Obviously the first tournament we went to was through a playoff that we managed to get through after two not very exciting games, or very exciting games but not memorable, only for the fact that we got there in penalties in Serbia. The second one was a proper qualification, and we attacked that qualification. Obviously we did it with a month to spare. I don't really think that's possible in such a short space of time this time with only the 6 matches. Also last World Cup, the group stage, the qualifying group stage, we finished second to a really good Denmark side. We got to the playoffs and we didn't manage to get through the playoffs. So we know that we can get through qualifying to get ourselves either there direct or through a playoff, and that's what we aim to do.
Everyone, I think, is looking at this group and the intensity of the games coming so thick and fast and thinking it's a tough one. Are you seeing it as particularly challenging, and what do you see as the main obstacles to you getting to what you want to do?
3 good sides. I think when you look at it, Denmark are obviously an established pot 1 team, qualify for all the tournaments. They've been known to get to the later stages of tournaments. Greece, probably, we saw Greece at Hampden in March. They're a good team. We know they're a good team, and they're probably a team that's on the ascendancy coming up the way. So maybe one of the more difficult pot 2 teams, and Belarus are a strong pot 4 team. So we know it's a tough section. It's a section where I think the teams can all take points off each other, which makes it even more interesting for everybody that's watching on.
Would you rather have had a couple of home games to start, or what you have, because it's tough, but it's also a really good opportunity to get off to a flyer?
We've got no real say in that. You've just got to deal with what you're dealt. The computer decided we were going away the first 2 games, so we've got to go there and get the most points that we can get, so that we go to the two home games in October with a realistic chance of going through.
In terms of the squad, today Josh Doig came in, Anthony Ralston and Kieran Tierney drop out. I'll come to Josh in a second. What are the reasons for the 2 dropping out?
Tony didn't actually join us. Tony's been at his club. Tony picked up an injury. I think last midweek in the European game that he managed to play through the Old Firm game. So Tony didn't actually join us. Kieran came in. He had a knock. Everybody was agreed that it would settle down in a few days. It didn't settle down. So obviously the most sensible thing is for Kieran to go back to his club.
Is Kieran having to be managed at this point just to get him back to the point where he can maybe see out a full game, or maybe play 2 games a week? Or
that's an issue for Kieran and his club. Obviously disappointed that Kieran's not with us, but when I named the squad, I picked a group of 5 centre backs, so it gives me options to play different ways. Replaced Kieran. I know you're going to bring up Josh. Replaced Kieran with Josh Doig. Josh has come in in the summer, was really impressed with him. I think he's improving, he's maturing all the time. Obviously got promotion with his team in Italy this year, so a good season in Serie A for him. I'll make him a better player.
One area maybe people are looking at, or will be looking at going forward, if it continues like that, is your captain in Andy Robertson at Liverpool. Obviously he brings a wealth of experience and ability. Are you concerned at all that the game time he might get this season might become an issue for you? Maybe not right now, but as we go forward.
Short answer, no. More elongated answer is he'll get plenty of minutes on the pitch. Liverpool will be challenging for the Premier League, they'll be challenging for the League Cup, they'll be challenging for the FA Cup, they'll go far in the Champions League. So they've got lots of matches to play. Andy will play more than enough football.
In terms of the overall picture then, you're right at the start of this group. What do you think, or why do you think the Tartan Army should get excited about what lies ahead? Because
there's a prospect of going to a World Cup. It's as straightforward as that. I think they enjoyed their time in Germany. Anybody I've bumped into in the street is waxed lyrical about the time they had there. They might have wanted to stay a little bit longer, but they certainly enjoyed themselves when they were there. If we can take them across the ocean to America, then I'm sure they'll love it.
Just a final one. The transfer window obviously closed just recently in Scotland, well, in a lot of places. When you look at that as Scotland manager, do you maybe hope that clubs would maybe back Scottish players, young Scottish players, a little bit more to? I mean, maybe it's not in their interest, but in the national team's interest to give you more options going forward.
I think you've probably answered your own question there, and it's not in their interest. Clubs will sign players that they think can help them to be successful, whatever that level of success is, whether that's winning trophies or staying in the division. So obviously, as the head coach of Scotland, you want as many young Scottish boys to have opportunities as possible. I think over my time in the job, we've shown that there's a pathway into the squad. We've got a good mix now between younger players that are going to be the next generation and the older players that have done so much for the country so far. Can we get more through? I think we can. You've just got to be a little bit patient and make sure that they get the chance to come through at the right time.
Thanks for listening. Remember, we're here with new episodes of the Scottish Football Podcast, bright and early every day. So make sure you don't miss out. Subscribe on BBC Sounds and have push notifications turned on your phone. And you can watch Denmark v Scotland live on the BBC Scotland channel or listen on Radio Scotland Extra.
It's petty, it's ill-informed.
Are President Trump's cuts having an adverse effect on research?
It's pandemonium.
What number's that in the periodic table?
PD, number 47. I don't know.
I've done the shooting clays before. The longer you do it, the sorer obviously it gets.
When Craig said there he'd been shooting the clays, I imagined him out a back line. Somebody's washing, you know.
William Shatner, his secretary, contacted me to say, when Bill has a question now and again, can he contact you? And then one time he called me up and he wanted to know, David, what is a photon? I'm thinking, this is incredible. Captain Kirk wants to know what a photon is, you know.
I once met a guy who referred to a globe as a ball map. A ball map.
A ball map. Look at the ball map.
What we normally do is spin the ball map and we see where we go on holiday.
The Off the Ball Podcast, available every Monday on BBC Sounds.